Welcome to this lecture on hybridization, one of the most important concepts in organic chemistry, and honestly, one of the most misunderstood. By the end of this lecture, you will just you will not just know what hybridization is, you will understand why it exists, how to determine it for any molecule, and most importantly, how it controls the shape and reactivity of every organic compound you will ever study. Let's begin. So, what is hybridization? Hybridization is the mathematical mixing of atomic orbitals, specifically orbitals of similar energy levels, to produce a completely new set of orbitals. These new orbitals are called hybrid orbitals. Think of it like blending two colors of paint, red and yellow, mixed together, give you orange. You no longer have red, you no longer have yellow. You have a new thing, orange. Similarly, when an s orbital and a p orbital mix, they are gone. In their place, you get a brand new sp hybrid orbital. Different shape, different energy, different geometry. Why is it needed? Now you might ask, why do we need hybridization? Why can't atoms just use their plain s and p orbitals to form bonds? Here's the problem. If carbon used its raw, unhybridized orbital to bond with hydrogen and methane, the bond angle would be 90 degrees because p orbitals are at 90 degrees to each other. But experiment shows the actual bond length angle is in methane is 109.5 degrees and not 90. Pure orbitals theory fails to explain this. Hybridization was developed precisely to solve this problem. It explains why molecules have the shapes they actually do in real life. Hesdep, hybridization was not invented arbitrarily. It was a mathematical solution to explain experimental observation. That's what makes it powerful. Atomic orbitals. The s orbital. Before we go into hybridization types, let's make sure we are on the same page about atomic orbitals. The s orbital is spherical, perfectly round, like a ball. It holds a maximum of two electrons. It has the lowest energy in its shell, which means electrons prefer to fill it first. The p orbital looks like a dumbbell, two lobes, one on each side of the nucleus, pointing in opposite directions. There are three p orbitals per shell, px, py, pz, pointing along the x, y, and z axis respectively. Together they can hold six electrons. Notice the positive, negative signs on each lobe. These represent the phase of the wave function and not electric charge. This becomes important when we talk about pi bond later. Limitation. Now here's the key limitation. Pure s and p orbitals predict incorrect bond angles and cannot explain why all four bonds in methane are identical. If carbon used three raw p orbitals to bond with hydrogen, the angle would be 90 degree, and one hydrogen would bond with the s orbital, making that bond different from other three. But in methane, all four CH bonds are identical. Same length, same strength, same angle. This is impossible to explain without hybridization. Let's now see how it works. sp3 hybridization formation. The first and the most common type is sp3 hybridization. Here's how it is formed. Carbon in its ground state has two electrons in its 2s orbital and two electrons in its 2p orbitals. To form four identical bonds, the two s orbitals, and all three 2p orbitals. That's 1s plus 3p mixed together. The result: four brand new identical sp3 hybrid orbital. Every one of these four orbitals is identical in shape, identical in energy, and point in a different direction in space. Shape tetrahedral. When four identical orbitals tries to get as far away from each other as possible, and they always do because electrons repel each other, they arrange themselves into tetrahedral shapes. Picture a pyramid with a triangular base. The carbon is at the center and the four hydrogen sits at the four corners. The bond angles, the angle between any two bonds, is exactly 109.5 degrees. This is the angle that maximizes separation between four groups in 3D. Example: methane. The classic example is methane. One carbon, four hydrogen. All four carbon hydrogen bonds are sigma bonds formed by sp3 hybrid orbitals of carbon overlapping with the 1s orbital of hydrogen. Other sp3 molecules include ammonia and water. Through their shapes, though their shapes look different because of lone pairs, we'll cover that in detail when we do the steric number method. Key insight in this thing is that sp3 means 4 hybrid orbital, always tetrahedral arrangement, 109.5 degree bond angle. Log this in. sp2 hybridization formation. Now let's look at sp2 hybridization. This time only one s orbital and two p orbitals mixed together. 1s plus 2p equals 3 sp2 hybrid orbitals. But notice, carbon normally has 3 p orbitals. We need only two of them. So one p orbital is left over, unhybridized. It stays behind, pointing perpendicular to the plane of the three sp2 orbitals. This leftover p orbital is critical, and we'll come back to it in a moment. Shape: trigonal planar. Three identical sp2 orbitals arrange themselves as far apart as possible, and in 3D space, three groups in a plane achieve maximum separation at 120 degrees. This gives us trigonal planar shape, all atoms in the same flat plane with bond angles of exactly 120 degrees. Example: ethene. The classic example is ethene, also called ethylene, the simplest alkene with the formula C2H4. Each carbon is sp2 hybridized. Three sp2 orbital form three sigma bonds, one to carbon and two to hydrogen, and that accounts for 3 bonds per carbon. But then those leftover unhybridized p orbitals on each carbon, they overlap sideways with each other. Side by side overlap. This sideways overlaps create a pi bond, and that pi bond combined with the sigma bond gives you the carbon-carbon bond. That's what carbon double bond carbon means. 1 sigma plus 1 pi. Key point: the unhybridized p orbital is what creates the pi bond. No unhybridized p orbital, no double bond. This is the connection between hybridization and bonding type. sp hybridization. The third type is sp hybridization, the simplest combination. Only one s orbital and one p orbital mixed together. 1s plus 1p gives 2sp hybrid orbitals. But now we need only one of the 3p orbitals, so Two p orbitals are left behind, unhybridized, both pointing perpendicular to the line of the sp orbitals, one in the y direction, one in the z direction. Shape linear, two sp orbitals point in exactly opposite directions, creating a perfectly linear molecule 180 degrees. A straight line. The atoms arranged like beads on a straight road. Example acetylene. The example is acetylene called ethine with formula C2H2. This is the gas used in the welding torches. Each carbon is sp hybridized. The two sp orbitals form one sigma bond to hydrogen, one sigma bond to the other carbon. Now those two leftover p orbitals on each of the carbon, both pair overlap sideways, giving us two pi bonds between the carbon. One sigma bond plus two pi bonds equals a triple bond. That's carbon, triple bond carbon. You see in acetylene, triple bonds are the shortest and the strongest carbon bonds precisely because of this. Remember, sp2 leaves one unhybridized p orbital. So one pi bond means double bond. But when we talk about sp leaves two unhybridized p orbitals, two pi bonds, which is equals to triple bond. The pattern is consistent every time. Now we'll talk about sigma versus pi bond, the foundation of the sigma bond. Let's talk precisely about the two types of covalent bonds and their relationship to hybridization. A sigma bond written with the Greek letter sigma forms by the head on overlap of two orbitals. The two orbitals point directly at each other and overlap along the bond axis. Sigma bonds are formed by hybridized orbitals. They are the first bond to form between any two atoms. Every single bond is a sigma bond. Every double bond contains one sigma. Every triple bond contains one sigma. The key property of sigma bonds, because the electron density is concentrated directly between the nuclei along the bond axis, rotation around the bond is free. You can spin around a single bond without breaking it. Now, when we talk about pi bond, the second layer, a pi bond forms by a side on or lateral overlap of two unhybridized p orbitals. The leftover ones we have been talking about, the electron density in a pi bond is not between the nuclei, it's above and below the bond axis in two separate lobes. This has two critical consequences. First, pi bonds are weaker than sigma bonds because the side on overlap is less efficient than head on overlap. Second, because the pi bond requires parallel p orbitals to maintain overlap, rotations around a double bond is restricted. Rotate the bond, you'll break the pi bond. This is why cis trans isomers exist in alkenes. This is a framework you will use constantly in organic chemistry. Memorize it now. So, quick test. How many sigma bonds and pi bonds are in a triple bond? The answer would be 1 sigma and 2 pi. Always 1 sigma, then pi bond stack on top. Okay, so let's move forward. Steric number method. The formula. Now we get to the most powerful tool in the lecture, the steric number method. This is how you determine hybridization for any molecule in seconds. The formula is simple. Steric number is equal to the number of bonded atoms plus the number of lone pairs of the central atom. Once you know the steric number, the hybridization follows directly. Steric number 2 gives you sp hybridization linear geometry. Steric number 3 gives you sp2 hybridization, trigonal planar. sp Steric number 4 gives you sp3 hybridization, tetrahedral arrangement. Step by step example, water. Let's work through water. Water step by step. Step 1, draw or visualize. Let's work through water step by step. Draw or visualize the Lewis structure of water. Oxygen in the center, bonded to the two hydrogen atoms. Step 2, the count the bonded atom around oxygen. There are two hydrogen atoms. Step 3, count the lone pairs on oxygen. Oxygen has two lone pairs. Step 4, calculate the steric number. Two bonded atoms plus two lone pairs equals 4. Steric number 4, therefore oxygen is in water is in sp3 hybridized or hybridization. The shape of water looks bent because the two lone pair are invisible in the molecular geometry. But the hybridization in sp3 becomes because the lone pair counts towards the electron geometry. Here critical rule to be followed is never ignore lone pair when calculating steric number. This is the number one mistakes student make. Lone pair counts always. Few practice examples. Let's apply the steric number method for four molecules. Methane, CH4. Carbon and methane bonded atoms, four hydrogen atoms, lone pairs, 0. Steric number 4, hybridization sp3, shape tetrahedral, bond angle 109.5 degrees. All four bonds are identical sigma bonds. Then is ammonia, NH3. Nitrogen and ammonia bonded atoms, three hydrogen atoms, lone pair 1, steric number 4, hybridization sp3. The electron geometry is tetrahedral, but the molecular shape is trigonal pyramidal because one corner is occupied by a lone pair, which we do not see as a bond angle approximately 107 degrees, slightly compressed by the lone pair. Water, oxygen in water, bonded atoms angle 2 hydrogen atom, lone pair 2, steric number 4, hybridization sp3. The electron geometry is tetrahedral, but the molecular shape is bent because two corners are lone pairs. Bond angle 104.5 degrees. The two lone pairs compress the angle even more than in ammonia. Carbon dioxide in CO2. Carbon and CO2. Now, here pay careful attention. Carbon is double bonded to two oxygen atoms. How many bonded atoms? Two. How many lone pair on carbon? 0. Steric number 2. Hybridization sp. Shape linear. Bond angle 180 degrees. Notice, even though each C11O is a double bond, you count it as one bonded atom. You count the number of atoms connected, not the number of bonds. Common confusion on CO2. Students sometimes think double bonds mean higher SN, wrong SN. Count the number of atoms attached, not the number of bonds. Two atoms attached to carbon, SN2 is equal to sp. Common mistakes. So, mistake one is ignoring lone pair. The most common mistake is forgetting to count the lone pairs in steric number. Wrong approaches. NH3 has three bonds, so it must be sp2 hybridized. Correct approach. NH3 has three bonded atoms and one lone pair on nitrogen. Steric number is 4. Hybridization is sp3. The lone pair is invisible in the molecular shapes, but is absolutely real in terms of electron geometry and hybridization. Mistake 2, confusing sigma and pi bonds. The second common mistake in treating a double bond as 2 sigma bonds, wrong carbon double bond carbon means 2 sigma bonds. Correct approach is carbon double bond carbon means 1 sigma bond plus 1 pi bond. Total bond order 2, but only 1 sigma. This matters enormously when you are counting bonded atoms for steric number and when you are predicting reactivity. Pi bonds react differently from sigma bonds. Mistake 3, wrong SN for SO2 for CO2. Students sometimes assign CO2 a steric number of 4, thinking that 2 double bonds means 4 bonds total number. 4 bonds total. No. Each double bond, I'll repeat it. Mistake 3, wrong SN for CO2. Students sometimes assign CO2 a steric number of 4, thinking that 2 double bond means 4 bond total. No. Each double bond connects carbon to one oxygen atom. Two oxygen atoms, steric number is 2. Hybridization is SP, linear geometry. One tip for the exams, before finalizing hybridization, always ask two questions. How many atoms are directly bonded to the central atom? How many lone pairs does it carry? And then that's your lesson. Done. So the big picture, the concept link, you say, the chain. We have covered a lot of on the ground, but before we finish, I want to see you the big picture, because understanding the chain is what separates average student from excellent ones. Here's the chain. Hybridization controls molecular shape. Molecular shape controls polarity. Polarity controls reactivity. Let me show you what I mean with the real example. A real world example. sp3 carbon is found in the most pharmaceutical drugs. Why? Because tetrahedral carbon creates a 3D shape that fits precisely into enzymes, active sites. The geometry determines biological activity. sp2 carbon is found in benzene and aromatic compounds. The flat planar structure, trigonal planar, is what allows benzene to be aromatic. Aromaticity explains benzene's extraordinary stability. The stability comes from the planar geometry. That geometry comes from sp2 hybridization. sp carbon is found in CO2. Linear geometry means two carbon double bond oxygen bond dipoles points in exactly opposite direction. They cancel out. Result, CO2 is nonpolar despite having polar bond. This is why CO2 is a gas and does not dissolve easily in nonpolar solvents. And pi bonds, because they are weaker than sigma bonds, they react first in the chemical reaction. Electrophilic addition reaction in alkenes and alkynes are driven by the availability of those pi electrons. So the next time someone asks you about hybridization, don't just say sp3 means tetrahedral. Say sp3 hybridization gives a tetrahedral geometry at 109.5 degrees. That geometry creates a 3D molecule. The 3D shape determines polarity and spatial arrangement, and those properties determines how the molecule reacts with enzymes, with reagents, and in nature. That level of understanding, that chain of logic, is what chemistry is actually about. Don't memorize sp3 is equal to tetrahedral. Understand the why. Hybridization controls shape. Shape controls polarity. Polarity controls reactivity. And the chain is everything in organic chemistry. Thank you.